Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. In today's video, we'll be focusing on the current story developing on Innistrad, a dark world besieged by madness from both its villains and its heroes. When we last visited the Shadows Over Innistrad storyline, we found our resident planeswalking detective Jace confronting who he believed was behind all the plane's strange going-ons, his former lover, the necromancer Liliana Vess. While the two have had a complicated past, neither wanted to see the other harmed. Well, maybe a little, but at least not killed. Jace brought forth evidence that connected Liliana to the Drownyard Temple and the mysterious Cryptolith, which seemed to be the key to the threat that faces Innistrad. Despite being historically scrupulous, Jace's involvement in this investigation has left his mind in tatters. The madness that's consuming this world seems to be impacting the telepath's mind as well, leaving him much more suspicious. The evidence against Liliana was dubious at best, and luckily, she managed to convince him of her innocence before either of them saw irreversible harm. This revelation has done little to fix Jace's fractured mind, however, leaving him more obsessed with solving this mystery than ever. We last saw him storming off, diving again headfirst into the danger that is this investigation. He heads now to Thraben, the holy capital of Innistrad and home to Avacyn's Grand Cathedral. The Mad Angel may be slaughtering those she swore to protect, but she's the last lead Jace has to solve whatever's going on. As we enter the deranged Cathedral of Avacyn, we're not greeted by Jace's iconic glowing blue eyes, but rather the white face of a stranger. It's the Moonfolk planeswalker Tamiyo, author of the journal Jace found in the arms of a dead man in Markov Manor. The journal was filled with her notes on Innistrad, everything from its powerful moon to the location of the Drownyard Jace discovered within its pages. Tamiyo had no real use for the journal. It was for her personal notes, notes she could easily remember within her own categorical mind. She's a Soratami from the plane of Kamigawa. Her people cherish stories and knowledge almost as much as their own moon and spirits, known as Kami. Her time on Innistrad was spent researching the plane's powerful moon, but it's evolved into a much deeper mystery, a mystery she's compelled to research and record, to keep written knowledge of for all time. Such is the duty of a moonfolk. Like Jace, Tamiyo is a natural when it comes to following clues, only she sees it as a song, a story being told in real time. She knows how to follow the clues like singing the next note. Tamiyo has seen and recorded a great deal of stories and songs in her time as a planeswalker, keeping them as magical scrolls on her person at all times. For these tales aren't just ponderous tomes, each are imbued with magic, spells written with each word. If it's needed, Tamiyo can call upon these stories to protect her. As they say, knowledge is power. Being a sleuth like Jace, of course Tamiyo found herself in the halls of Avacyn's Cathedral. It was the next chapter of the story. She strolled the halls, well, not in the traditional sense, it was more like floating, her feet never touching the cold stones of the gilded halls. She was in a dangerous position. The cathedral was filled with Avacyn's Cathars, those who have sided with the Mad Angel and Zealotry. These natives to Innistrad were just other pieces to the story, a story which should be observed, not interfered with. Rather than show herself and explain, or worse, fight them off, Tamiyo unraveled one of her scrolls and read the magic in the words. This particular story was about an Aki who deceived a kami on her home world of Kamigawa, and as the story would suggest, Tamiyo was gifted a disguise. To the eyes of the Cathars, she would appear to be another from their ranks, a candlestick, or even an angel. The guise will be whatever the viewer would expect to see. With this, Tamiyo managed to infiltrate the cathedral without raising a single alarm. While her scrolls did indeed grant her great and unique abilities, some were potentially dangerous to the natural order of the multiverse, 3 of which she carried with her on this day. Books bound with ironclads, stories she'd hoped to never use, stories she promised never to visit again. As Tamiyo explored further into the grand halls, she came upon a library, a natural place for a Soratami. Perhaps the books here would grant some insight to the early years of Avacyn, or maybe what's befallen the angel recently. As she slowly and quietly pushed the heavy doors aside, she saw an older man, the librarian, collapse and fall asleep. Above him stood a cloaked man with glowing blue eyes, a telepath with ties to blue mana, a planeswalker like herself. Planeswalkers were to be avoided in her work, almost at all costs. They were brash and unpredictable, and could carry the bias of any unknown world. In short, they were a liability to a truth seeker. She first thought about avoiding the situation altogether, but upon closer inspection, she saw him holding her personal field notes, her journal. She last entrusted the journal to a close friend of hers, the astromancer named Genric. His fate was tied somehow to this man, but she still decided to let him make the first move. His eyes were confused, furious. He ranted on and on about her being here, the author of the book. She must be able to help. Could she help? He begged and begged incoherently. The telepath even managed to speak a command directly to her mind. "Help," he whispered again. Luckily, Tamiyo was trained to deal with telepaths. Her culture was quite good at it. She sensed this man had taken in the madness that was plaguing the entire plane. It scared her. If this madness could infect the mind of a telepathic planeswalker, could it perhaps spread to different planes across the multiverse? It was too much of a risk to chance. Tamiyo smiled and reached for one of her scrolls. This time, it was the origin story for the Mer on the plane of Mirrodin. The spoken words permeated Jace's fractured mind, anchoring him back to sanity. Jace Beleren was finally himself again. Now back in the world of the sane, Jace gratefully introduced himself and thanked her for her work, the notes he had been following thus far. Tamiyo asked what had happened to the journal's original holder, Genric. He hadn't harmed him, right? Of course Jace told the truth. The journal was found in the ruins of Markov Manor. Whatever took the manor, took Genric's life as well. Tamiyo was pleased to hear this, but it didn't change her mind. Jace had to leave Innistrad, now. The plane was far too dangerous, especially for a mage of his power. The madness of this world would continue to infect him. Should he fall to its influence, there's no telling what damage an insane telepathic planeswalker could potentially bring upon the planes of the multiverse. Jace had been threatened by a planeswalker he had just met, but he wasn't in any way ready to pack up and leave. He told Tamiyo that he can help Innistrad, save the plane, help her. He and his friends, referring to the Gatewatch, can help. They've done this sort of thing before. Tamiyo fired back at everything Jace supposedly knows about Innistrad or Avacyn. He was so certain that he could get inside her mind to discover what's going on, but did he even know what Avacyn was? Tamiyo graced the planeswalker with a lesson. You know nothing, Jace. You suspect, you theorize, you have evidence, but it's far from conclusive. How much do you really know about Avacyn? Her purpose? You have no idea what would happen if Avacyn were destroyed. She wards the entire plane. Have you ever heard of a plane-bound being interacting in such a way with the multiverse? I will tell you this plainly, Jace. You know less than you're ignorant of. And I'm not here to fix this world's problems. I'm here to understand it, to chronicle it, to know the truth of it, and record that truth for all time. But this plane is likely doomed, and I have no intention of stopping it. It is sad, perhaps, to lose a thing of beauty, but like the blossoms of an orchid in springtime, it's a temporary beauty. It's just one plane among countless. Planes are lost and renewed all the time. Your premise is flawed. The words stung Jace's righteous ego. If she wouldn't help him save the people of Innistrad from destruction, then perhaps she'll help him help herself. She won't truly know everything that's going on unless she understands what's afflicting Avacyn. Getting into her mind will solve that problem. To this, Tamiyo finally agreed. She would help him in piercing the Mad Angel's mind to unlock its secrets, but nothing more. The plan seemed simple and plausible. Jace would enter the Angel's mind while Tamiyo's magic anchored him to his own sanity. Diving into the mad thoughts of a corrupt angel could certainly have some negative reactions. Tamiyo was there to ensure Jace got out in one piece. To do this, the two planeswalkers were required to connect their thoughts at a fundamental level. With this mental bridge, the two would know everything about one another. No secrets would be kept. Jace saw Tamiyo as she really is, a powerful figure grounded firmly by tradition, home, and family. Jace, on the other hand, was far more broken than Tamiyo had ever envisioned. His mind was shattered, split into sections on purpose. He had erased his own memories. What was left was a man driven by purpose, a purpose she trusted. Soon after the connection was solid and the anchor formed, Tamiyo felt a powerful presence approach. Her veil was broken. Avacyn was coming. Glass shattered as the angel's massive wings, stained red with fresh blood, flew through a mosaic depicting her former glory. The indifferent look on her face seemed to mirror the madness of her mind, while the flaming, molting spear in her hand matched her fury. Tamiyo flew up and met Avacyn's gaze, offering her words and drawing her attention from Jace below. Avacyn didn't reciprocate Tamiyo's kind greeting, choosing to respond with violence rather than words. Using another scroll, Tamiyo readied a spell of frost, hoping the ice could slow the lightning speed of the Archangel. The winter's howl managed to hit key joints on Avacyn's wings, slowing her just enough for Tamiyo to avoid her strikes. The heat of Avacyn's fury was melting the frost faster than Tamiyo's spell could conjure it. She was adapting. Jace had to hurry. She sent an urgent thought to the Mind Mage, but he was doing everything he could as quickly as he could. He just needed a little more time. Avacyn exuded a light of pure glory, an oppressive force that bent Tamiyo to her knees and crippled Jace to the floor. This light was once a wanted sight for those who prayed for the angel. Now it's nothing more than a tool of corruption. It was strong, but Jace had finished his spell, and right in front of Tamiyo, Avacyn froze in mid-strike. The light still peered from the angel's essence, but everything else remained motionless. Jace then attempted to enter Avacyn's mind, stating to Tamiyo that the angels and the church aren't the source of the corruption, but are merely just affected by it. Yes, she's protecting Innistrad from something else, but if he were to push deeper, maybe they could discover what that was. Tamiyo urged him to hurry, but as he began, the room filled with the scent of rotting meat, and the light pouring from Avacyn became cold and cruel. She broke the spell and turned directly to Jace, almost forgetting completely that Tamiyo was her original target. Avacyn proclaimed Jace to be a thief, a defiler. Tamiyo focused on the link between her and Jace, offering him what solace she could. Avacyn grasped Jace by the throat and paraded him around in agony. Thanks to this mind link, Jace was aware of the ironbound scrolls Tamiyo carried with her. There was one which could save him, one about Sarah's realm. Use it, and she could stop this madness. Jace didn't expect Tamiyo's response, however. She was unwilling to break her promise, her word to never use these powerful scrolls. She said goodbye. I'm sorry, Jace. Sometimes our stories have to end. So clearly, Jace is in a troubling position. He may be cleared of his madness, but now it seems his very life seems to be at risk. We get our first look at Tamiyo in this storyline, now a real figure rather than just written words in a journal. Her mission may seem cold, but it's like a researcher conducting a naturalistic study. She's here only to observe and record the events as they happen, not interfere. The question now is, what happens to Jace Belleron? Will Avacyn kill the Mind Mage? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If he doesn't die, how do you think he'll be saved? Anyway guys, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like and subbing to the channel. It goes a long way in supporting future content. You can also support this channel by becoming a patron on Patreon. Not only do you directly fund my videos, but you'll also be entered into monthly giveaways for fat packs, cards, and even entire booster boxes. If it sounds interesting, check out my Patreon linked in the description below. Regardless, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.